I bought this lake to escape chaos. Morning coffee on the dock, a kayak drift at sunset, silence, sanity, but peace. It has a price, and apparently my HOA decided I hadn't paid it. One morning I noticed the smell. Not like nature, like something died inside a porta potty that had trust issues. At first I thought it was runoff from the storm, until I traced it upstream. The HOA had installed a temporary drainage solution right into my lake. Their excuse: it's not technically yours. Spoiler, it technically is. They dumped sewage into the wrong man's water. And what they didn't realize was that every faucet, sprinkler, pool, and fountain in our neighborhood, it all flows from my land. This wasn't an accident. It was a statement. And I was about to reply, loudly. It started small. I moved into this semi-rural development just outside Austin. Quiet, upscale, HOA managed, the usual suburban package with slightly more trees. But what most people didn't know was that my property included a private lake. Not big enough for jet skis, but deep enough to matter. The lake fed into a small reservoir, which the HOA used as a community water source for irrigation. We had a deal. I maintained the natural inflow. They paid a symbolic $1 annual lease. It was a legal relic from the original landowner, grandfathered in. The HOA president, Marla, didn't like relics. Or me. We had a run-in at a community meeting. She proposed beautifying the shorelines, which meant dumping gravel paths, plastic benches, and a duck statue with googly eyes. I politely declined. That's when things got weird. I got a fine for unapproved aquatic vegetation. It was lily pads. Then a warning about unauthorized bird feeding. I hadn't fed them, they just existed. Then one night after a storm, the smell came. I followed it upstream, past the HOA fence line, and found a series of plastic pipes snaking from their maintenance shed into the lake. Temporary drainage? That's what their letter said. A few calls confirmed it. They were offloading wastewater runoff directly into my lake without permission. When I confronted Marla, she smiled. You should be grateful. We're aerating the water. I stood there, stunned. That was just the beginning. Over the next 2 weeks, things spiraled. The water turned cloudy. The fish started dying. Kids stopped coming to the lake to skip rocks. Even the frogs disappeared. I sent cease and desist letters. They responded with an invoice for HOA water filtration services. 4218s, then came the fines. $200 for unauthorized algae. $500 for standing water deemed a breeding hazard. A formal warning that my body of water violated aesthetic compliance. Let that sink in. My lake wasn't pretty enough. Then came Karen, not a metaphorical Karen. Her actual name was Karen Blakely, HOA board member. She started walking her dog across my property line every morning. Just slow enough to make eye contact, just smug enough to carry a clipboard, just checking that the drainage system is functioning, for the community. Then I noticed someone had replaced my private property signs with Community Nature Path, HOA sponsored. That's when I lost it. I confronted them again. Marla shrugged. The water's not yours once it enters the public domain. But it doesn't enter the public domain, I replied. It starts here. She laughed. Then maybe you should charge us for it. And right then, I knew exactly what I'd do. Because here's the twist no one saw coming. I'd already spoken to a water rights attorney. And the lake? It wasn't just mine. The spring that feeds it, the pump system the HOA uses, it's all on my land. And it's all legally mine. So I started planning. I spent 2 weeks quietly preparing. First, I filed an environmental complaint with the county. Not just one, 4. I included soil samples, photos of the pipes, timestamps, drone footage. Then I put up new signage. Private water supply. No HOA access. Violation will be prosecuted. Marla tore one down. I replaced it with 3 more. Then I had a local plumber come in and install a bypass valve on the HOA's intake line. It took 2 hours. With one twist, I could reroute the entire water flow away from the HOA system. I didn't use it yet, not yet. I wanted them to feel safe. They held a neighborhood BBQ. Karen handed out flyers about their new water quality initiative. She smiled at me from across the lawn. That was the moment I knew they didn't see it coming. Then, I filed for a formal termination of the water easement, citing environmental contamination and breach of agreement. Legally, they had 10 days to respond. They didn't. Day 11, I turned the valve. The HOA sprinklers stopped. The clubhouse fountain gurgled, then died. I waited. Within 24 hours, I got a visit. Marla, Karen, and 2 board members showed up. huffing and puffing like wolves at the wrong brick house. "You can't do this," Marla said. I already did. I handed her the easement cancellation letter with a notarized timestamp. Karen scowled. "You think this is over?" I smiled. "No, I think this is justified." The fallout came fast. Residents started asking questions. Why the fountains were dry. Why the grass turned yellow overnight. Why HOA dues had suddenly tripled. Marla held an emergency meeting. I attended with my lawyer. We showed photos. Drainage pipes. Soil damage. Dead fish. We read the lease aloud. The terms were clear. Abuse the water source. Lose the access. Karen interrupted. "We didn't know it was his lake." My lawyer pointed at the county land registry. "You do now." The room went silent. Then a voice from the back. Mr. Chapman, 78, former HOA president, stood up and said, "He's right. That water isn't ours. It never was." Neighbors started clapping. By the end of the month, the HOA was fined by the county for illegal dumping. Marla resigned for personal reasons. Karen tried to run for president and lost, badly. I was asked to consult on a new community environmental plan. Politely declined. But I did agree to sell them clean water. At market rate, they're now paying me $842 a month. I used the first check to restock the lake with koi, named one of them Marla. She keeps to herself. Peace returned. The frogs came back. The water cleared. My dock is once again a place of coffee and calm. And the HOA? They now send me Christmas cards. I keep them, unopened. Sometimes the best revenge is just turning off the tap. Takeaway, know your rights, especially when they flow quietly beneath the surface. If someone tries to pollute your peace, don't just get angry, get strategic. Because when people take you for granted, the most powerful thing you can do is remind them what they depend on. What would you have done in my shoes? Comment below. And if you made it this far, drop a justice served so I know you're one of the real ones. And hey, if your HOA's ever pulled something shady, I really want to hear it. I might just feature your story next. Until then, keep your water clean and your boundaries clearer.